On March 22nd, a little after 2:30 in the morning, a group of Israeli settlers came up this road and into this village, Jalud, and went on a rampage. They firebombed businesses and vehicles. They firebombed this local government building.
This was one in a wave of similar attacks that followed the death of a young Israeli settler in a vehicle collision. And those attacks are just one part of a recent explosion in settler violence meant to push Palestinians off their lands. We went to the West Bank to speak to victims of settler attacks in 3 different villages, and we encountered a group of settlers ourselves. In Jalud, one of the fires set by the attackers destroyed this newly installed medical clinic. And according to villagers, attackers also tried to burn down this home with a family inside, and wrote graffiti in Hebrew on the wall reading "Death to Arabs." The head of the local village council told us that settler violence, which first escalated after October 7th, has gotten dramatically worse since the beginning of the US and Israel's war on Iran. Israeli human rights group Yesh Din says there were at least 10 daily incidents of settler violence in the West Bank in the first 25 days of the war, with 6 Palestinians shot dead by settlers and 5 more killed by Israeli soldiers. Officially, the Israeli government condemns this violence.
I can't accept that. That's vigilantism. I'm taking that out.
But Palestinians and human rights groups say that the perpetrators are almost never held accountable under the law. In July, Saifullah Musallet, an American citizen born and raised in Tampa, was beaten to death by settlers near his family's land in the West Bank, according to eyewitnesses. Another young man named Mohammed al-Shalabi was shot and killed in the same attack. Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, called for accountability for this criminal and terrorist act. But the attackers haven't been identified, and Saifullah's father, Kamel, says nobody has been arrested or charged for the killing.
It was almost his birthday.
He was shy of 2 weeks before he was 21. He was happy like he's going to be 21 years old.
Yeah, right.
He said, because I'm a, official adult in the States.
In the U.S., right?
Yeah. I feel that the Israeli settlers are taking advantage of this war now. And they're going into more areas, and they're trying to take more land because nobody's stopping them. As we speak right now, as this interview is going, Israeli settlers are still on my land. I haven't been to the place where my son was killed,
You haven't been able to reach that?
I can't reach there because it's dangerous for me to go there. If I go there, settlers will come and most likely attack me.
We asked Kamel to take us as close as we could get. Leaving him behind, we walked up the hill, making sure to stay far away from settlers.
Kamel's village is over there, and basically this whole valley is their land, including land that he personally owns, and now it's been taken over completely by Israeli settlers, including the ones that we see over there with that flock of sheep.
Within minutes, we saw a van coming our way. Knowing that settlers have attacked journalists in the past, we left to avoid a confrontation.
So we saw the guy with the flock. He immediately went up the hill, and now there's a car speeding towards us.
Yeah, they're running over us. Stop. Why? Stop. No, they're throwing rocks at us. No, we're far. They're still running behind us? Let's see.
Reviewing our footage, we noticed that several of the settlers who chased us armed with clubs and stones appeared to be minors. After a few minutes, they returned to the valley.
That's what hurts you the most, they're here every day, living on your lands, living in your home. These houses that people from our village built, they might be the same exact one that hit my son, beat my son. They might be the same exact one that shot his friend. They knew you guys were pressed, but they didn't care.
They're not afraid.
They're not afraid. It's the impunity. We keep saying it over and over. They know they can get away with it. Anybody that goes up there gets attacked.
David, that was incredible reporting, and thank you for doing it. The complaints that I've heard and in other of these incidents is that while these attacks, obviously, physical assault is illegal under Israeli law in the occupied territories, which is under military jurisdiction, that there just has been no accountability, no prosecutions, no arrests, no investigation. Have there been any developments in any of these cases that you've covered that show some kind of wheels of justice turning?
Well, Chris, the case of Saifullah Musalet that you heard about at the end of that story there is very illustrative because Saifullah is an American citizen. Usually having a U.S. passport brings certain power and privileges. It even gives the U.S. government jurisdiction to investigate these kinds of cases directly, but that hasn't happened here. I reached out to the Israeli police to ask them if there were any updates on the investigation. They said that they hadn't yet received a criminal complaint in this case. The family's lawyer pointed out that it's strange for a police department to require a criminal complaint to investigate a murder. And I should also say, Chris, that although military law applies to Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, for Israelis, including settlers who commit violence, they are under civilian law. So it is, in fact, the Israeli police that's responsible for investigating and prosecuting those cases.
David Noriega, live from Haifa in Israel, where he's been doing amazing reporting. I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much, David.